Today's topic is extracellular matrix and the disorders associated with it. I am Dr. Beena. The extracellular matrix is the area between the cells, and it is the non-cellular part of the all tissues and organs. So the extracellular space is filled with gel-like materials, extracellular matrix, also called ground substance, which provides structural and biochemical support for the surrounding tissues and organs. They are the non-cellular components of all tissues and organs. The extracellular matrix contains three classes of molecules, mainly the structural proteins collagen, elastin, and the protein polysaccharide complex to embed the structural proteins, that is proteoglycans, in which the structural proteins are embedded. And then the third one is the adhesive glycoproteins to attach the cells to the matrix. They are the fibronectins and lamins. So you can see here collagen and elastin and all in structural protein, then the proteoglycan complex, and then this fibronectin, which is attaching the cell to the extracellular matrix. Now we'll see what are the components of extracellular matrix. First one is the structural proteins consisting of collagen, elastin and fibrillin. And the second is the specialized protein fibronectin and laminin. And the third one is the proteoglycans, that is glycosaminoglycans attached to the matrix proteins. So you know what is glycosaminoglycans, and they are attached to the matrix proteins, and then it is called proteoglycans. The fibrous proteins are present in amorphous ground substance containing water and minerals. So there is water and minerals also in the extracellular matrix. The composition of extracellular matrix is unique to suit its function. So depending upon the function, the composition of the extracellular matrix also differs. In this picture also you can see the various components of the extracellular matrix, mainly proteoglycan, fibronectin and cross-linked fibers of collagen. So the cell secretes the glycoproteins, which is the main component of the extracellular matrix. There are two types of extracellular matrix, mainly basement membrane and the interstitial matrix. Now we'll pass on to the functions of extracellular matrix. Extracellular matrix holds cells together, provides porous pathway for the diffusion of nutrients and oxygen. It protects the organs and provides elasticity to the blood vessels, lungs and the skin. Glycosaminoglycans and proteins form gel-like structure, provides a flexible mechanical support and acts as a cushion and lubricant against the mechanical shock. So it protects the organs from the mechanical shock. Then it regulates the cell growth, migration and the differentiation. So it is an important function of extracellular matrix apart from the coverage of the organs and tissues. It directs the morphology of the tissues by interacting with the cell surface receptors, which binds the surrounding growth receptors, which stimulates the signal pathway. You know, there are receptors on the cell surface onto which the growth factors are binding, and then which stimulates the various signal pathways. For that, the extracellular matrix has got an important role. Then it is having a direct role in supporting growth and wound healing, that is for the bone growth. Another important role is in the tissue repair, which is of therapeutic use. Here in the extracellular matrix allow the cell-to-cell communication. You can see here there is a cell-to-cell communication by this extracellular matrix. Next one is the proteoglycans. These are the major proteins of extracellular matrix, made up of glycosaminoglycan chains covalently linked to the specific protein core. There are three types of specific proteoglycans, that is leucine-rich proteoglycans, cell surface proteoglycans. Cell surface proteoglycans acts as co-receptors important in signal transduction pathway. Then the modular type of proteoglycans that mediates the cell adhesion, migration and proliferation. So there are three types of proteoglycans in the extracellular matrix: leucine-rich cell surface proteoglycans and the modular proteoglycans. Glycosaminoglycans. We have already studied the glycosaminoglycans. They are the unbranched heterocyclic polysaccharide of repeating disaccharide units. Negatively charged under physiological condition due to the occurrence of sulfates and uronic acid groups. The disaccharide subunits are uronic acid and the amino sugars. Uronic acid is made up of either D-glucuronic acid or L-ioduronic acid. The amino sugars are N-acetyl glucosamine or N-acetyl galactosamine. Disorders associated with this glycosaminoglycans is known as mucopolysaccharidosis. They are hereditary disorder, 1:30,000 birth incidence, characterized by excessive accumulation of glycosaminoglycans in various tissues. They cause symptoms like skeletal, extracellular matrix deformities and the mental retardation. Due to the deficiency of the lysosomal hydrolase that required for the degradation of various glycosaminoglycans. So the mucopolysaccharidosis are due to the deficiency of lysosomal hydrolases that require for the degradation of various glycosaminoglycans. We are studied in detail about the mucopolysaccharidosis. You can refer that and answer. Then important ones is Hurler syndrome and Sanfilippo syndrome are autosomal recessive and Hunter's disease is X-linked. Now the changes in extracellular matrix during aging. So major change is stiffening of the extracellular matrix. There the junction proteins catherine, occludin and catenin decreases with age, and then there will be gap formation between the cell occurs. So gap between the cells increases. Then the matrix metalloproteinases MMP mediated degradation also increased, and that will cause thinning of the basement membrane. Fibroblasts becomes old and express more of cytokines, MMPs, plasminogen activating inhibitor with increased production of ROs, that is reactive oxygen species, by the mitochondria. So this leads to inflammation, ultimately destruction of elastin and the basement membrane. So there will during aging there will be stiffening of the extracellular matrix. Inappropriate collagen cross-linking produced by the reactive oxygen species, ultraviolet rays, and the enhanced glycation will produce stiffening of the tissue. Then aged tissues are less elastic, rigid, and mechanically weak. So as age advances, tissue become less elastic and rigid, and they are mechanically weak. You can see in old age people the skin elasticity is lost, and similarly the bone become rigid and easily friable. Clinical significance of extracellular matrix. Biological scaffolding materials composed of extracellular matrix are used in a variety of surgical and tissue engineering and regenerative medicine. This extracellular matrix causes regrowth and healing of the tissues. They are associated with remodeling, including angiogenesis and the stem cell recruitment. Angiogenesis means new cell formation, and also for the stem cell recruitment. Matrix bound nanovesicle MPVs of extracellular matrix are the key substance in the healing process. In human fetus, extracellular matrix work with stem cells to grow and regrow all the parts till the full development. Then it helps in injury repair and the tissue engineering by preventing the immune system from triggering from injury and responding with inflammation and scar tissue. So they will prevent the inflammation and scar tissue by preventing the immune system. Extracellular matrix is used in culture system to maintain the stem and the precursor cell during the culture and function to induce the differentiation of epithelial cells, endothelial cells and smooth muscle cells in vitro. So they are also used in culture system. Now we'll pass on to the structure and functions of collagen, which is the most important glycoproteins present in the extracellular matrix. Name collagen derived from the Greek word means substance to produce glue. It is the main protein of the connective tissue and collagen forms about 25 to 30% of the total body weight of the protein in the body. It has got a great tensile strength and holds cells in discrete units, and it present in nearly all organs like bone, teeth, tendons, cartilage and blood vessels. So it is present in almost all organs and it is constituting about 25 to 30% of the total body weight of protein in the body. So here you can see the picture where the collagen is shown in various angles. So it's a fibrous protein. Now we'll see the distribution of collagen in the various tissues. There are two types mainly, fibrillar collagen and sheet forming collagen. Fibrillar is the one where the type 1 comes. Type 1 seen in tissues like skin, tendon, bone, tendon, ligaments and cornea. Type 2 again cartilage, vitreous humor and lens. Type 3 is seen in skin, muscles and blood vessels. And type 5, similar to type 1, it is seen in fetal tissue and placenta. Then the sheet forming collagen type 4 seen in all basal lamina. All collagens have a triple helical structure. That is the basic unit is tropocollagen consisting of a 3 polypeptide chains of or the alpha chains of around 1000 amino acids. These 3 chains are twisted around each other to form a triple helix with great tensile strength. So there are 3 alpha chains which are twisted around to form a triple helix. That is the main structure of the collagen. Chains are held together by hydrogen bonds between the chains. Multiple forms are present in humans. Around 19 distinct forms of collagens are present. Now we'll go to in details of the function structure of the collagen. Collagen has an unusual amino acid composition with 33% glycine, 10% proline and 10% hydroxyproline and 1% hydroxylysine. 4-hydroxyproline and 3-hydroxyproline and also 5-hydroxylysine is also seen in fairly large amount. Tryptophan and cysteine are absent, but tyrosine is less in collagen. Hydroxyproline and hydroxylysine is formed by enzymatic process of post-translational modification. You know what is post-translational modification? So there is enzymes which are converting proline and lysine to hydroxyproline and the hydroxylysine by the lysyl hydroxylase and proline hydroxylase, which requires the vitamin C as the cofactor, and it is an important reaction in the post-translational modification of collagen. The formation of triple helix requires again glycosylation. So these are all the modification occurs within the cell itself, and that is hydroxylation and glycosylation. In the fibroblast, hydroxylysine is glycosylated with disaccharide units of glucose and galactose. So the main carbohydrate which is used for glycosylation is the disaccharide unit of glucose and the galactose by the enzyme glucosyl transferase and galactosyl transferase. Number of glucosyl units vary with the tissues. So number of these glycosyl units vary with the tissues. That is in tendon tropocollagen, that is of type 1, there are 6 units of disaccharides. In lens capsule tropocollagen of type 2, there are 110 units of disaccharides. So this is the reactions where the proline and lysine get hydroxylated to form 4-hydroxyproline and the 4-hydroxylysine where the oxygen is used and carbon dioxide is released. Similarly, alpha ketoglutarate used in succinate is released. The enzyme is lysyl hydroxylase and the prolyl hydroxylase, where ascorbic acid is the cofactor which is essential. Now, the primary structure of the collagen is a regular arrangement of glycine, proline, and hydroxyproline. Glycine is the every third amino acid residue. Being the smallest of all, it can fit into the crowded interior and produces a groove into which other polypeptides can intertwine. So, glycine being the smallest amino acid is seen as on every third amino acid, as every third amino acid is glycine, so that it can fit into the crowded interior and produce a groove onto which the polypeptide can intertwine. Alpha chains form left-handed helix. No interchain hydrogen bonds are there because the nitrogen of the proline and hydroxyproline has no substituted hydrogen for the hydrogen bond formation. So the first primary structure is the alpha chain formation, where it is of left-handed helix. So in this diagram you can see the synthesis where is it occurring in the cell and is producing the polypeptide chains, and then after that hydroxylation and glycosylation occurs, and then after that it is released into the cytoplasm from the cell to the not the cytoplasm, into the extracellular space, where it is again converted to procollagen and then collagen fibrils, etc. Now, how the formation of tropocollagen occurs. 3 alpha chains wound around to form a right-handed triple helix by forming interchain hydrogen bond between the amide group of glycine with the carbonyl group of adjacent peptides, and that stabilizes the triple helix. So there is an hydrogen bond formation between the glycine and amide group adjoint of the glycine and the carbonyl group of the adjacent polypeptide. The formation of collagen fibrils. Spontaneously, they are aggregate to form fibril. They arrange themselves into staggered, parallel, overlapping array structures. Each tropocollagen molecules overlaps its neighbor by a length of 3/4 of the molecule. So it is arranged in such a way that 3/4 is covered by the neighboring one, and so that there is quarter staggered arrangement. Now, how the extracellular maturation of the collagen occurs. Procollagen molecules are secreted from the fibroblast. Then they are cleaved by a specific peptidase at amino acid 150 amino acid on the amino terminal and the 300 amino acid on the carboxy terminal to form a mature collagen. So after releasing into the extracellular matrix, some maturation again occurs, that is procollagen molecules is cleaved on either side, that is aminos terminal side 150 amino acids and the carboxy terminal side 300 amino acids are cleaved off by the specific peptidases to form the mature collagen. Then they forms the covalent crosslinks. So dermatopraxis is a disorder where the deficiency of these specific peptidases occurs, and so the skin is prone to be torn easily. So in this condition, the skin will be torn off easily. That is the main feature. This quarter staggered, parallel and overlapping arrangement of tropocollagen forms the collagen fiber, and the fibrillar array of tropocollagen connected and stabilized by intra and intercovalent crosslinks by the action of a copper-containing enzyme, lysyl oxidase. You have studied in the copper metabolism regarding this lysyl oxidase, where the copper is essential for the reaction of this lysyl oxidase. Then there are three types of crosslinks, that is aldol condensation, Schiff base, and the lysine or leucine. The crosslinks are important for the tensile strength and has no capacity to stretch out, but they are helpful in mineralization. So these crosslinks are very important for the tensile strength of the collagen. And it has no capacity to stretch out, but it helps in the mineralization of the extracellular matrix. So in this diagram you can see how these tropocollagens are arranged 3/4 overlapping, and then they are forming fibrils, and these collagen fibrils are again forming a bundle of collagen fibers. Now the degradation of collagen. Collagen is degraded by an enzyme called collagenase and produced by the Clostridium histolyticum, a pathogen producing gas gangrene. So adults, human do not have much of collagenase activity, but the animals are having this type of collagenase activity, and example the tadpole and all, they are having the changes occurring in their lifestyle, that is usually so it is seen in the animal life. The true collagenase activity in animals whose tissue have to be undergone a great degree of remodeling. Example is tadpoles. In humans do not have any appreciable collagenase. But the degradation occurs in the bone and cartilage resorption, osteoporosis, tumor metastasis, postpartum involution of uterus, Paget's disease, rickets, osteoarthritis, scurvy, and the rheumatoid arthritis.